Swings and a fly ball to deep right field. This is going to be a home run. Unbelievable! A home run.
Welcome to the Sanders Sports Show. And now here is your host, Dave Sanders.
Welcome into the Sanders Sports Show today. I am your host, Dave Sanders. Thank you very much to my friend Justin Santiago for putting together the new opening to the show. I do appreciate that. Sounded great, by the way. A lot to talk about today. We're going to be talking about the Kings of Seattle saga. A little bit of new information on that. A few NBA news and notes. A monster dunk last night. See if we can bring the audio of that to you. NASCAR was in Las Vegas this week. A little bit of NHL and MLB news, as well as the World Baseball Classic. In case you haven't heard by now, a little fight broke out between a very peaceful nation and Mexico. But first, I actually have a little bit of breaking news today. The Seattle Seahawks made a trade that a lot of people were kind of, up here at least, were kind of hoping they would make. We got another wide receiver. We get the disgruntled, I guess you could call him disgruntled Percy Harvin. So he was seeking a trade again. It's the second time he's been seeking a trade from Minnesota. He actually got it. He's coming to Seattle to rejoin his former teammate in Sidney Rice. Seattle's sending a couple of draft picks. I haven't been able to see which draft picks yet. I doubt it's a first rounder. I would say probably second, maybe third, as well as a lower level, maybe a fifth or sixth round. But Minnesota is losing their receivers. I mean, they're very run-heavy anyways with Adrian Peterson. But you can't have a running game without a passing game, so they really need to stock up on maybe sign a Wes Welker, maybe get somebody to kind of fill the void of the receivers that they've lost in Rice and Harvin over the last couple years. Ponder's not a bad quarterback. He's not great by any means, but he's not bad either. He's not Brandon Whedon or Brady Quinn. Yes, I know they were both Browns quarterbacks, but they're the Browns. They're going to be bad. But no, I like the trade for Seattle. It gives them another weapon. I mean, they have a ton of receivers as it is already with Golden Tate, Ben Olabanu. I mean, they're stacked at the wide receiver position, and this just stacks them even more now. Plus, they have a great running game with Marshawn Lynch, Michael Robinson in the backfield. I mean, Seattle is... I know it's really early, and the draft hasn't even happened yet. The agency hasn't happened yet. None of that's happened. Seattle is going to win the West if they keep this up next year. And as an Arizona fan, that hurts me to say that. Arizona hasn't done anything to increase their chances of winning. So, I mean, Seattle, to me right now, could have leapfrogged San Francisco next year, by far. I just don't see it. I mean, I have San Francisco already, after the Allen Smith trade last week, I already have them finishing second to Seattle, but I think San Francisco is going to fall off more because of that trade. I believe for 2-3 weeks at least, I was saying before I went on my little hiatus that trading Allen Smith would be the worst possible thing that San Francisco could have done, because what if Kaepernick gets hurt? Who's their backup? Yeah, I don't know who it is. I don't think very many people know who it is outside the San Francisco 49ers organization. To have the pistol offense like San Francisco, like Seattle, like Washington does, you need to have a solid backup. They kind of took a step backwards, in my opinion. San Francisco did by trading Smith. So Seattle, I already was going to have them leapfrog the Niners anyways. But this just puts it over the top. I mean, they're probably going to win the West by at least 3 games next year. I know it's early, like I said, but I have them going probably 12-4, 13-3 in the West. So, good job, Seattle. Kudos to that. I mean, on the other side of the coin, Minnesota, seems like they're having a fire sale. I don't know what else they're going to be trading. I mean, they're losing people left and right. They have, like I said, no receivers. mean, they need to stock back up. I mean, they were a playoff team this year. Granted, they were one and done, but they were a playoff team this year. Yes, it was on the back of the running back who was coming back from a torn ACL. But Ponder made things happen too. Not as much. Like I say, not a bad quarterback. Not good. He's in the middle. He's in the middle of the road. But that's all you need is a middle of the road quarterback when you have Adrian Peterson. A healthy Adrian Peterson, anyways. But yeah, great trade for the Seahawks there. Since we start out with NFL, might as well get into a few other NFL news and notes. Not much else going on around the league. Looks like Kevin Gamble's going to retire, the quarterback of the Carolina Panthers. Looks like Chris Jenkins is going to the Giants. Bolden's looking for a new contract now that Joe Flacco got his payday. Bolden wants his payday now. And it was finally confirmed after weeks of speculation, Reggie Bush will be back in Miami. Horrible loss for Miami, in my opinion. I mean, he has a lot left in him. I mean, he had some great moments in New Orleans. Went to Miami, revitalized his career there. I mean, he easy 1,400-1,500 yard rusher every year. Looks like they're going to go with Lamar Miller or Daniel Thomas doing a split running back. But where Reggie Bush will go now, Arizona? I mean, you're probably going to lose Beanie. Why not pick up Reggie? I mean, as long as it's not a USC quarterback, there won't be a bust issue. As the Arizona Cardinals learned with Matt Leinart. But for Reggie Bush, I can see a lot of teams courting him, a lot of teams going after him. He's going to be paid. And I think he's going to be paid well. I mean, he has everything to be a starter this year. But the biggest news out of the NFL happened over the weekend, and I couldn't believe this. James Harrison actually being released by the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's huge. I mean, he was Defensive Player of the Year. He's always in the middle of controversy, good or bad. I mean, there's no such thing as bad releases. James Harrison, though, I mean, is he a dirty player? He's been fined many times. I believe he's suspended a couple times. But he's also a 5-time Pro Bowler. He's also former Defensive Player of the Year. You don't win that by being a nice guy. Looks like it was a salary cap issue, so there is a small possibility they can re-sign him just at a lower amount. But you have to think that he's going to try free agency, see what he can get out there. Now, he's only been in the league 5 years. Now, here's some of his numbers. I mean, he had 16 sacks in 2008. That was also the year he was the Defensive Player of the Year. His sacks have declined over the last few years, but also his games have declined, hurt, suspended, and whatnot. I mean, that also factored into the release. So, like I said, they could re-sign him at a smaller amount if he chooses to do so. I see him in another uniform next year. But that just shocked me when I saw that. A lot of teams need a good middle linebacker. And James Harrison can fill a hole in many teams right now. I mean, the way the Seahawks are going, might as well see if they can snap him up. As far as the NFL goes, that was pretty much the big stories over the weekend. We're going to start out with the NBA because there is some news, local news. I know we don't have an NBA team yet. That looks to be changing a little bit more as we go along. Last week, Kevin Johnson announced that he did have a group together that was going to make an offer to buy the team and keep them in Sacramento. Friday, Mr. David Stern, the NBA commissioner, said no, that's not enough, and it wasn't. I mean, I don't know what the details of the offer were, but apparently it was not nearly enough to stack up to the Handsome Ballmer Group here in Seattle of their $341 million offer. said that the bid falls short enough that it's likely it won't even be considered by the NBA. So they would have to increase the offer. There is a meeting that is scheduled between the NBA owners on April 3rd to kind of hear out where the offers stand, both the Hanson Balmer group and Kevin Johnson's group, and see what is going to work the best as far as the NBA is concerned. Stern has described this meeting on April 3rd to be very important for both cities. Now, just to get you caught up if you haven't been paying attention or haven't been following, the Hanson Balmer group, Steve Hansen, Greg Balmer, offered to buy the Sacramento Kings from Blue Brothers majority stake, typically 65%, for $341 million. The team is valued at over $560 million. They have filed, the Hanson Balmer group put down $30 million. Down payment, non-refundable, so they're throwing $30 million to the Blues without even a guarantee of the sale happening. That's how confident they are. They very shortly after that filed the necessary paperwork to get the Kings up to Seattle for the 2013-2014 season. The idea is to play in the old arena, the Key Arena, the former home of the Sonics, for the next 2 years. So 2013, 2014, and then 2014, 2015. And to have the new stadium built in the Soda district of Seattle, which is actually going to be right next to Safeco Field, CenturyLink Field, by 2015. So the Sonics can move into it. And potentially a hockey team, too. I mean, there were a lot of rumors of the Coyotes being on the market. They could be moving up here. No other information on that yet, but right now the Sonics deal is very, very likely, and it's looking more and more likely every day. The postseason Board of Governors meeting, April 18th and 19th, is where a vote is going to be scheduled to officially either approve or deny the sale of the group of the team to either the Hanson Balmer group or the Kevin Johnson-led group to keep the team in Seattle, whichever is the better offer. Which right now, I mean, I'm a month ago, I think it was, Kevin Johnson had a press conference where he announced 20 private citizens offered up $1 million of their own money. That's $20 million. Great. You also have I can't remember what company you own, but you have a big multimillionaire that's funding this. It's not going to happen. I mean, where was this support the last 3 years? I mean, Sacramento has almost lost their team, I think, twice before this happened. Almost lost them to Anaheim. Actually, last year, almost lost them to Anaheim. The year before, they were on the table. They were on the talks of being relocated because their arena was not up to par. The Arco Arena, it was not up to par. That's how I know it. I still call it the Arco Arena. I've went through Sacramento. It's literally all the way almost outside of town. So I even looked at it. I went through downtown. I went outside Sacramento. I'm like, oh, look, there's the Arco Arena. It's way away from everything. We didn't even have that problem up here. I mean, the Key Arena's downtown. Basically. I mean, downtown Seattle's a large area. Stern also said that the situation that two cities are basically fighting over a team is unprecedented, and he's never had anything like this in the last 36 years that he's ever heard. I mean, when we lost the Sonics up here back in 2008 to Oklahoma, there was no fight. We didn't get hit. The fans fought, but there was no fight from city officials. Mayor Nichols back at the time, there was no fight from him. He was like, okay, they're moving. Who cares? Fans were upset. There's a lot of support trying to keep him here, but the city government seems like it didn't care. Now we have a mayor, and Mayor McGinn, who wants nothing more than to get that team back in there. And kudos to him for making that a priority. Because you know how much that will help? It's not so much about the team. It's also going to create jobs. There's a lot more tied into the Sonics coming back than we just get our Sonics back. There's jobs. There's revenue coming into the city. I mean, there's stuff that a lot of people weren't even thinking of back in 2008 that it affected. I mean, Key Arena regularly probably about 4 months out of the year. Regularly. I mean, like, they have a professional team in there, as in the Seattle Storm or WNBA team. The rest of the time, it's just concerts here and there. Maybe, no, they don't even use it for Monster Jam. They use Tacoma Dome for that. But everything is looking positive for Sonic's return to Seattle as early as next year. All we have to do is basically in the NBA's hands. The NBA, more to go for Seattle. And with their history, it actually doesn't look too bad. At least it's not baseball. That's all I gotta say. Gonna take a quick break. We'll get back. Gonna talk a little NASCAR and NHL right here on the Sanders Sports Show, right here on Spreaker.com. Into the Sanders Sports Show. I am your host, Dave Sanders. You can find the show on Facebook at facebook.com/Sanders Sports Show. You can leave comments also right here on the Spreaker.com webpage for each show, and also I'm on Twitter at SandersD84. I'm actually been procrastinating. I've been trying to get a Twitter specifically for the Sanders Sports Show. I'll have that up, and we'll let you know when we'll have that going. It'll probably be at Sanders Sports Show or at SS Show, something like that. It all depends on what's available, but we will definitely let you know. NASCAR was in the closest track to my old hometown in Arizona. They were in Las Vegas this week, 90 miles from my old hometown of Bullhead City, Arizona. And to say it was uneventful would be kind of lying to you. There was some action. I mean, it wasn't the most exciting weekend in Vegas I've seen. It started on Saturday. Sam Hornish basically dominated the nationwide race. Just destroyed it. He actually had some contention by Kyle Busch at the end. It's funny that Sam Hornish didn't even know the name of the race. That was the Samstown 300 before he went to the drivers' meeting. So just have Sam Hornish Jr. win the Samstown 300. That's something. That was like last week with Carl Edwards winning the Subway Fresh Fit race when Subway was the sponsor on his car. That was like perfect. Hornish led 114 laps. Just like I said, it was domination. Kyle Busch was the only one who was even close to him, and that didn't even come until the end of the race. So nothing, like I said, not a lot of exciting racing until the end. Same thing with the Sprint Cup Series race on Sunday, which is dominated mostly by Hendrick Motorsports, Jimmy Johnson, Casey Kane, as well as Brad Keselowski near the beginning, defending series champion. But all in all, a Toyota won. So basically we have all three manufacturers have won a race already this year in the first three races. Chevy won Daytona with Jimmy Johnson. Ford won Phoenix with Carl Edwards. Toyota won Vegas with Matt Kenseth. So if you're looking for parity with the new designs, it looks like we got it. Granted, those are three completely different tracks between Daytona, Phoenix, and Vegas, but there is parity. It's not one-sided like it used to be, so there shouldn't be any complaints from any of the manufacturers. Matt Kenseth also became the third driver overall to win on his birthday. Kelly Yarborough did it twice back in March 27th, both 1977 at North Woodsboro, an old track that isn't used anymore. Also in 1983 at Atlanta. Kyle Busch also did the feat back on May 2nd, 2009 in Richmond. And Matt Kenseth, of course, yesterday, March 10th. You know, when they say he was 41, I couldn't believe that. I mean, look at these drivers. I mean, they look the same every year. They don't look like they're aging. I mean, even Mark Martin looks the same as he did 10 years ago, and he's 54. He looks the same now as he did back in 2003. I grew up a Mark Martin fan. That was my first favorite racer of all time, the 6 car. When it was the 6 Valvoline car, then it was the 6. Yes, I know it was the Viagra car. So many jokes came out of that. Moved on to the 01, moved on to the 5, now driving the 55. I mean, I still like Mark Martin. I still would love to see him win a championship. I know it won't happen, but it would be great to see. He's finished second so many times. But to hear that Matt Kenseth is 41 already, I mean, it just seems like he just came into the sport. It feels like it just came into the sport a few years ago, but he's been around for a while. I mean, since, 98, 99? That just shows me that I'm getting old, too. I have a birthday next month as well. Actually, 30 days, April 10th. So, going to be 29 already. Time is going fast. But, like I said, you look at parity. I mean, look at your top 10. You have Toyota, Chevy, Ford, Toyota, Ford, Chevy. Granted, there's a lot of the same teams. I mean, you have Kenseth and Busch, both the Toyotas in the top 5, both in Joe Gibbs. You have Casey Kane, Jimmy Johnson, Dale Earnhardt Jr., all from Hendrick, 2nd, 6th, and 7th, respectively, all in Chevys. You have Kozlowski, who's Penske, in 3rd. Then you have Edwards from Roush in a Ford in 5th. Both those are Fords. And then you have RCR-powered Kevin Harvick and Jeff Burton in Chevys running out the top 10, 9th, and 10th. So, I mean, there's diversity out there. It's not like one manufacturer is going to have an advantage like it used to be in the old days. A few other news and notes from the area. Denny Hamlin is not happy. He actually took to the airwaves. I believe it was after Daytona. Talked about after Phoenix, talking about the new cars. And it wasn't. It's almost like talking about the referees in the NFL and NBA. You don't do that. NASCAR didn't like that very much, and they fined Denny Hamlin $25,000 for his comments. Hamlin has refused to pay the fine and is appealing it. And even if he doesn't win the appeal, he's saying he will not pay it, which could garner suspension from one of the series' top drivers. I mean, to be honest, I don't understand why there's a fine in the first place. I mean, he has an opinion. It may not be the most favorable opinion in NASCAR's eyes, but he has an opinion. I mean, a lot of fans share the same opinion, actually. It was about the passing, the lack of passing that's happening. I mean, it doesn't make for the most exciting racing. And they have to tweak it a little bit. I understand that it's the first year. I mean, we just started testing these things literally in January. That was the first official test of these. I mean, I don't see why there's a fine. Denny Hamlin was quoted, "The truth is what the truth is. I don't believe in this. I'm never going to believe in it. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to pay the fine. If they suspend me, they suspend me. I don't care at this point." End quote. That is actually in the rule book, too. If you fail to pay a fine, it may result in suspension. But NASCAR also says that they can deduct the amount of the fine from any prize money from a race weekend. So the fine looks like you'll be paid no matter what. Whether it be voluntarily or they just take it out of one of his winnings. Hamlin goes on to say, and I quote, "The short and long of it is, I believe I was severely disrespected by NASCAR by getting fined." This is what he tweeted. I believe that the simple fact of us not even having a conversation about this issue before I was hit with the fine has something to say about our relationship. What I said in one sentence was taken completely out of context. Most drivers will tell you that we consistently have our and NASCAR's best interests in mind when speaking. He wants the best for NASCAR. I mean, every driver does. Every driver does. Every fan does. Of course, NASCAR wants the best for themselves. If a driver comes out and says, "Hey, I wouldn't want to watch something like this if I was watching it. I mean, I'm riding around out there, and that's boring to me. I can't pass. So I have to think of what millions of fans are watching." And that's how it was. I mean, passing is almost impossible in some of these cars, in some of these races. I mean, look at Daytona, which has been averaging, I think, about 50 to 60 lead changes a race over the last 5 years. A lot of that was the old car, the two-car tandem. With this new car, it went back to pack racing, but as soon as you get up to the other line, you can't pass them. This is the second time a NASCAR driver has been penalized for comments this season. Actually, Nationwide Series driver Jeremy Clements was suspended indefinitely for using a racial slur in the presence of an MTV reporter. That I can see that. That's a PR thing. I can see that. I mean, this isn't WWE where you can go have a DUI and be busted for marijuana and still be the forefront, the focal point of a show. If you get caught doing that, I mean, look what happened to Kurt Busch a few years ago. Look at the tirade he did on Dr. Jerry Punch. That got him fired. And look where he is now. I mean, he's in his third team in 3 years. I mean, these guys are going to have opinions, and the opinions that they have, I do agree with Hamlin on this. It was not the most exciting race. I mean, I actually watched the beginning of it. I'm not going to lie. I watched the beginning with it, went out and did some errands, came back with 50 to go. Yeah, it was a great finish. And it wasn't so much that it was side-by-side racing. It was more fuel mileage. Would Carl have had enough fuel to the end? That was the whole drama of it. I'm not a fan of fuel mileage influenced races or influenced finishes, but it is what it is. I mean, that's pretty much the only way you're going to win is on pit road now, it seems like, until they start tweaking these cars a little bit more. Speaking of Phoenix, Danica had a pretty hard hit at the Phoenix race. Her right front tire blew. She went up hard into the wall. And then got caught on the driver's side by the 30 car. I believe it was David Stremme. Caught her pretty good. Tore up the whole side of her, the driver's side of her car. Sent the hood up into her window. Pretty nasty wreck. She walked away from it. Going to Las Vegas, she attended a race at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway dirt track and got hit in the head with a rock. It happens at dirt tracks. I mean, dirt rocks, everything flies up in the air. That's why I don't sit close to the dirt tracks. She actually joked that she might have one Thursday, a concussion Thursday. She didn't have one on Sunday, but she might have one Thursday when the rock hit her in the head. She actually joked about that. She had a hat on, so she had some protection. So she didn't get busted open or anything, at least, so that's good. But NASCAR is really, I mean, they're taking the same stance as the NFL, NBA, even wrestling, MLB. Pretty much every sport is taking on head injuries now. I mean, that's why Dale Jr. sat out 2 races when he had a shot at the title last year. I mean, yeah, it was, she got hit with a rock in the head, but at least she was okay. She didn't fare too well in the Vegas race. I think she was about 5 laps down last time I saw her in 38th, so the Danica Patrick experiment is not living up. Outside of Daytona, it's not really living up to much, but she's still learning, and that's what fans have to understand. I mean, she's coming from IndyCar, which is a whole nother beast, into NASCAR. I mean, she's only been driving the nationwide races full-time last year. This is her first full-time Sprint Cup. I think she should still be in that nationwide, learning a little bit more, maybe doing a few sparse Sprint Cup races for the time being, just until she learns a little bit more. But Tony sees something in her to have her driving for him, so I respect that. Also, back in Daytona, we all know Michael Annett was involved in the nationwide, the first big one, not the one that involved the catch fence, but the first big one. He went to surgery for a broken and dislocated sternum. He's going to be out for about 2 months. 43 car has a replacement driver and resourced him for those 2 months, so we wish Michael Annett a speedy recovery. Don't want to come back too early for something like that, because that could have been a lot worse than it was. Before we take a break, we'll look at the NHL, some of the NHL scores here real quick. Our NHL news and notes. It's finally over. It is. It was a great run. I mean, great run by Chicago. They finally lost a game on Saturday to the Avs, 6-1. Sorry, 6-2. On ending their, I think it was 24-game point streak. Yeah, they were 21-0-3 heading into that game. Now they were 21-1-3 after. Now, after they had that long streak of winning and not losing in regulation, the Blackhawks are now on a 2-game losing streak. If you believe that. Then they turn around last night, play against Edmonton, and lose to Edmonton, 6-5. So I don't think it's as far from panic time in Chicago. I mean, they have such a huge lead in their division; it's unreal. So don't panic. I mean, you can't win them all. You really can't. Unless you're in college football, you can't win them all. My Ducks. I'm a huge Ducks fan. Made a huge re-signing over the weekend. Re-signed Ryan Getzlaf to an 8-year deal, keeping him as the captain of the Ducks for quite a while. Good to see that. There were a few games yesterday. Like I said, the Blackhawks did fall to the Oilers 6-5 yesterday. There were 10 games altogether. We'll run through the scores here real quick. Rangers beat the Caps 4-1. Ducks beat the Blues 4-2. They're still up on the Pacific Division. Blue Jackets needed a shootout to beat the Red Wings 3-2. Canadians over the Panthers 5-2. Devils also needed a shootout to beat the Jets 3-2. Penguins demolish the Islanders 6-1. Sidney Crosby had 5 assists in this game. That's insane. Blackhawks, like I said, losing the Oilers 6-5. Flyers over the Sabres 3-2. Wild over the Canucks 4-2. And the Avalanche needed overtime to beat the Sharks 3-2. Tonight, only 2 games on the docket. The Bruins and the Senators, and the Flames against the Kings. Neither of those are on TV unless you have the NHL Center Ice package. Coming up next, we will talk a little bit more NBA. Also, we'll talk a little baseball, both MLB Spring Training and the World Baseball Classic. This is the Sanders Sports Show, right here on Spreaker.com.
Signs for love is real. She'll never know just how I feel.
Welcome back into the Sanders Sports Show. I'm your host, David Sanders, right here on Spreaker.com. And we'll take a look at what's going on in the NBA here real quick before we get to baseball. There were a few notable games over the weekend. The most notable, the Lakers. Maybe Kobe's promise wasn't as ridiculous as it sounded. Lakers are now in sole possession of the 8th seed in the West for now. They're a half game up on the Jazz. I'm not a buyer yet. Still too many games. I mean, Dwight is working a little bit better, and a lot of that has to do with Kobe. They beat the Bulls last night. I'll get to the scores here in a minute. But speaking of the Bulls, Derrick Rose's return has been delayed. Looks like there's a little bit of a hamstring issue, delaying the return of Derrick Rose. He was shooting for a mid-March return. I have to push back a little bit more now. But he went through his usual pregame routine. That's when he felt the injury. This is not something you want to rush back from. I mean, you don't want to take the chance of re-injuring it. That's the thing with football. You have 8 months, 9 months between seasons, pretty much. Basketball, you only have a couple. Rose he's ready to return mentally, physically. His body's just not there yet. It's almost there. Don't want to push it too far, though. Speaking of injuries, Kyrie Irving ended up injuring his shoulder as they lose to the Raptors. X-rays were negative at the time. Looks like he has a left shoulder contusion. He's going to be reevaluated today in Cleveland. He actually collided with Toronto rookie Jonas. I always butcher his name. Valanciunas. If anyone can tell me how to pronounce that, any of my Toronto fans up there, can you tell me how to pronounce his name? Because I never can. But that happened in the second quarter. Raptors did end up beating the Cavs. Raptors, surprisingly, are alive in the East. I mean, if it wasn't the East, they wouldn't be alive, obviously, but they're still surprisingly alive for a playoff run, maybe 8 seed, 7 seed, maybe. So, might have a chance there. But the highlight of the night last night, which I just... all I saw was rest in peace, Brandon Knight. I'm like, what? Wait a minute, Brandon Knight died? All I saw on Twitter last night was R.I.P. Brandon Knight. After seeing the dunk, yeah, I could see why that was on Twitter and why I'm pretty sure it trended. Brandon Knight has gotten such bad luck this year. He has. I mean, first getting just schooled by Kyrie Irving earlier this year. Then last night, I mean, that was the definition of dunk phase. That was the definition of posterization. If you haven't seen the dunk yet, I will post it on the Sanders Sports Show page over on Facebook.com. If you haven't seen it yet, go look at it. In my opinion, it's better than anything Blake has done this year. Primarily because Blake is more of... With him, he dunks sometimes, but then there's times where he just throws the ball into the hoop in a dunking motion. So I don't know if you can classify that as a dunk, really. But DeAndre Jordan last night, that just put anything Blake Griffin did out of the water, in my opinion. Brandon Knight jumped for some reason. I think he's still questioning that. I think he's going to question that decision for a long time. But yeah, I mean, it was just nastiness out there. With that, I mean, that was just en route to the, that was just salt in the wound, really. Clippers destroyed the Pistons 129-97 last night. So the scores, Toronto did end up beating Cleveland, like I said, 100-96. OKC ended Boston's run of 5 games, a 5-game win streak. OKC 191-79. As the Lakers did beat the Bulls 90-81. Orlando over Philly 99-91. Say that 10 times fast. Miami beat Indiana 105-91 to win their 18th straight. New Orleans edged out Portland 98-96. Back to the Miami game here real quick. Miami, everyone says it's no big deal, and to me it's really not that big of a deal. But, I mean, 18 in a row, great. It's not going to matter if they can't get it done in the playoffs. And I'm not saying they can't. I'd like to see... I'd like to see somebody go up against the Heat. I do. Like I said, Hornets over the Blazers 98-96. Mavericks just demolished Minnesota 177. Bucks over the Kings 115-113. And Clippers over the Pistons, like I said, 129-97. Got 5 games tonight on the docket. We got the Nuggets and the Suns. We got the Nets versus the Sixers. Over on NBA TV tonight, we got the Thunder against the Spurs at 8:30 Eastern. Pistons over the Jazz. And we got the Knicks and the Warriors. That should be probably the game of the night right there. Yeah, I know Spurs and Thunder both have, like, that's pretty much for first place in the West. But I think Nets and Warriors is going to be more exciting to me. If, talk a little bit about baseball real quick. A few MLB news and notes here real quick before we head into the World Baseball Classic stuff. Big Papi David Ortiz looks like he's going to be sitting out for about 5 to 7 days. He has a little bit of a foot problem, looks like. Eddie Ramirez didn't get any offers from any U.S. clubs, so he's going to go across the sea to Taiwan to go play. Good luck to him. Over the weekend, Mariano Rivera, it was announced. It was basically announced last week, but it was formally announced on Saturday that Mariano Rivera is going to be in his last year this year. So he didn't want to go out on the note that he went out last year with the torn ACL. Yankees are also trying to court Derek Lee, first baseman. Yeah, they need some help. They're also trying to look at Scott Rowland. And for some reason, even though he announced his retirement and he played his whole career in Atlanta, they're reaching out to Chipper Jones for some reason. I mean, they have no backup to Teixeira at first, really. Yeah, actually, with him out, yeah, that's right, he's out. Cano is at second. Ukes is going to be at third while A-Rod's hurt. Jeter's at short. Brett Gardner's probably going to be in left. Ichiro in right. Don't know who's going to be playing center while Granderson's out. Russell Martin's gone. He's in Pittsburgh. And then they have Travis Hafner at DH. Really, they need a first baseman, center fielder, catcher right now. That's really where their holes are. I mean, Ukes could probably go to first if they get a decent third baseman. But I would keep Ukes at the hot corner, at third. I think he's more effective there. I would go after a first baseman like a Derek Lee. I mean, he could still probably belt out 25 to 30 home runs. But yeah, Yankees do need some help. As much as the guy that put the man that put my opening together, he's a huge Yankees fan, Justin Santiago. As much as you want to believe that the Yankees are looking good this year, they're looking like more in trouble than good. That's about it in the MLB. Go over a couple of scores. I think there's a couple of games going on right now. Let's take a look. Yeah, it looks like we have a couple games underway. We got the Yankees and the Cardinals in the top of the sixth. Yankees are up 1-0. We have the Mets and the Tigers at the bottom of the fifth. Mets are up 5-0. Braves up over the Nationals 6-0 in the bottom of the sixth. Orioles are beating the Pirates 2-0 in the top of the fifth. Red Sox over the Marlins 5-1 in the top of the seventh. We got a couple other games about ready to start. We got the Angels and the Indians coming up here soon. Rockies and the White Sox. Dodgers and the Brewers. Giants and the Rangers. A's and the Padres. Cubs and the Diamondbacks. And the Twins and the Rays. So 12 games in all today. Now, a lot of those teams are without some of their players. They're playing over in the World Baseball Classic. A couple of surprises this weekend. The biggest surprise was Canada actually getting into a fight. I'm not joking. They actually... Them in Mexico, bench clearing brawl, 7 ejections, I believe, at the end of it. No suspensions, though, on either side, either WBC or the MLB. So good to see that. Canada was up 10-3. They actually won that one on Saturday. USB did lose 6-2, and it all came down to yesterday's game between the U.S. and Canada down in Phoenix. I watched most of this game. I actually turned it on about in the 7th inning. Canada was up 3-2. U.S. scored 7 runs in 2 innings to win the game 9-4, led by Adam Jones. I mean, Seattle made a huge mistake letting him go, especially for what they let him go for, Eric Bedard. That was like the worst possible move they could have done. Looking back on it now, I mean, you don't know when it happens. You don't know what you're giving up and what you're getting. You think you're getting something good in Eric Bedard, and you think okay, we'll give you Adam Jones. I mean, yeah, he's decent. Adam Jones has exploded since leaving Seattle, since he got to Baltimore, and this proves it right here with what he did for the U.S. So U.S. won Pool D, and they went on to face the loser of the Dominican Republic versus Puerto Rico game, which followed the U.S. game. Dominican Republic ended up winning that game 4-2. So U.S. will play Puerto Rico, and Italy will play the Dominican Republic in the quarterfinals. Other quarterfinal matches, we have Japan versus Chinese Taipei over in Tokyo, and we already have one that's a final. Brace yourselves for this. Cuba lost today to the Netherlands 7-6. Yeah, I was just as shocked as you, as you probably are, hearing that. The Netherlands are in the semifinals of the World Baseball Classic, beating Cuba. Yeah. Let that sink in for a minute. Got 3 games on the docket tomorrow, all on on the MLB Network. 6 a.m. Eastern, we got the Netherlands taking on Japan. We got Italy taking on the Dominican Republic, and the U.S. taking on Puerto Rico. Those are both on MLB Network as well. Italy, Dominican Republic at 1 p.m. Eastern. USA, Puerto Rico at 8 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, yeah, I'm just in shock there. And that will just about wrap it up for us today here on the Standard Sports Show. Tomorrow we'll be talking more about the World Baseball Classic games. Let you know who won between the Netherlands and Japan. Talk more baseball, more basketball, more hockey, and more football. I also have started up a Standard Sports Show NCAA Bracket Challenge. Go to ESPN.com and search Standard Sports Show for the group. You can join it there. Also, I will be posting it on the Facebook group and on my personal Facebook page as well, so come join that. Also, I am creating a ML Fantasy Baseball. It is an invite only. I forgot about that with ESPN, so I apologize. I posted a link earlier today for it. If you want to be a part of this, the draft is going to be taking place March 24th at 4 p.m. Eastern. Send me your email either in a message, or I will be posting a link and pin it to the top of the page. And leave your email there, and I will invite you. I want to get as many teams as possible. I have it set for the maximum, which is 20. However many teams we have, though, by the time April 24th runs around, that's what we'll run with. I want at least 10. Get a good size league going. And this will be a keeper league as well, so we'll continue this after this year as well. So yeah, come join that. The first year, since this is my first year, I'm still getting things together. It's pretty much just for bragging rights this year. Next year, probably going to be throwing surprises in. So we'll see what we can do. It is Monday, so that means tomorrow, my boys J5 and Anthony Perry are going to be gracing the airwaves here on Spreaker.com with their show, Fanalyze This. They're going to a new format every Tuesday and every Thursday for an hour at 4 p.m. Pacific time. Go check them out at Spreaker.com. That's Fanalyze This with an F. Go check them out on Facebook as well, Facebook.com/Fanalyze This. Also, if you're a bowler, bowlingevolved.com has everything you have. Tips and tricks from the pros. Also, keep up to date with all the bowling events in Laughlin, Nevada. Keep for the casual bowler all the way up to the hardcore pro. Bowling Evolved has everything you need. That's bowlingevolved.com. That'll wrap it up for us today. Join me tomorrow, same time. It's going to be at 11 a.m. Pacific time from now on. That's 2 p.m. Pacific or 2 p.m. Eastern. And until tomorrow, I wish you all the best of days. Enjoy your night, and as always, be good humans. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.